Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my man Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got an 11-game slate to end this work week for you guys tonight in the NBA. After just one measly game on Thursday night, that was pretty fun, a total of like 276 points or whatever. But we are happy to have a few more options for you tonight. In this one, we're bringing you the Pellies, looking to take advantage of the woeful San Antonio Spurs in Texas tonight. Also have another game video up and our player props as well, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We're coming at you guys each and every weekday of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. We've got our great written content up there for you guys. Nate puts all the game picks and our player props up there, as well as we have our odds finder tool that you can go ahead and use to make sure you're getting the best juice back across U.S. sports books on all these NBA bets you're making this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into this 11-game slate and then talk Pellies and Spurs.
Yeah, tons to choose from tonight, but yeah, you mentioned it, that Spurs have been as reliable as rain there in terms of losing, so that's the game we're talking about here. Is Wizards -3 at Hornets kicks it off, Magic +10 at Cavs. The other game we break down, Lakers are +8.5 at the Bucks with a 230 total. Heat +7.5 at the Celtics, totals 226. Celtics are lighting up the world, so I think that over is in play even if Jimmy Butler's back. Nuggets -2.5 at the Hawks. The Raptors +1.5 at the Nets. Sixers +5 at Memphis. Pacers +5 at Jazz with Halliburton questionable. Rockets +12 at Suns. And then the Bulls +7.5 at the Warriors. 237 total there. I expect Steph to have a nice night. And then the game we talk about, Pelicans are -7 at the Spurs. Total of 232. I feel like we just did this and we got it absolutely right. The night before Thanksgiving, Pelicans were at Spurs. They were favored by 7 and they won by 19. And it was like the 10th straight game that the Spurs have been down by 20 at least at some point. Since they beat the extremely shorthanded Bucks, they have not even been remotely competitive. They've lost 14 of their last 15 with a -15 net rating in that span. And the Pelicans are real good, man. They haven't had everybody all together, it feels like, for any game. And they're going to be without Ingram and Herb Jones here, it looks like. But CJ McCollum's back. They won by 19 without CJ in that last meeting. They shot 57% from the floor and 43% from deep, which is real notable because without CJ, their offense went in the tank in the next game against Memphis, which is a legit NBA team. The Spurs are not. They have a 121 defensive rating in their last 7 here. We talked about some of the numbers they gave up to the Lakers there in the home. They haven't covered in 7 straight games, despite these spreads being pretty big most of the time. And when you have Zion in there for the Pelicans looking good, it's just like when it rains, it pours, right? It was a 1-point spread when they hosted the Raptors 2 nights ago, and they were up by 30 all of a sudden. And it's just like, wow, the Raptors are not the type of team to just have no defense. To call somebody unstoppable and just be suddenly be getting crushed. But that's what a Zion-led team can do, and everybody's playing off him, shooting like 80% from the floor in his last 2 games here since that loss in Memphis. And that's why the Pels are shooting so well as a team. And from the perimeter, you have 42% from deep against Toronto. And the Spurs 30th in just about everything defensively. They're going to be getting whatever they want. No Jakob Poeltl as well, right, tonight. So that's going to be even more easy money for Zion down low. As far as totals, I think all you want to do, again, is take the Pelicans team total. You do not want to trust the Spurs to come along because they're tanking better than anyone else in the league. And that's why they're 30th in our power rankings, but number 1 in our tankathon meter. And good for you, Pop. Hope you get to coach Wemby next year.
If he's still coaching, it's only because he's got Wemby next year. This team is still kind of underrated somehow. This Pelicans team, it's because they haven't had everybody playing together all season long, right? I think there's been 3 games now that CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson have all played together, and it was 3 of the first 4 games of the season. And since then, they have not all been in at the same time. It sucks, and it's annoying, but it's like, because we just really want to watch greatness like every night. And when it's like having Zion attached to two guys like, CJ and Brandon Ingram, who can both play from pretty much any spot on the floor. And this dude loves to come barreling in. Like, it's set up perfectly, right? The 3-point shooting could probably be a little bit better for them, and especially because CJ's been bad this season from deep, which you actually expect to improve at this point. But he's back tonight, which is great. So you finally have him and Zion on the floor together. So far this season, 4th highest net rating, 5th best win percentage. So right there, it's very surprising actually to see that when you look at the standings, because it seems like we're not talking about them very much. Their defense has gotten so much better, and in some really crucial ways for them. They're limiting teams to the 3rd best opponent 3-point percentage, as we talked about, 7th in limiting free throw attempts, 5th in limiting rebounds, and 6th in limiting 6th in limiting free throw attempts this season, 7th in terms of makes. But either way, like their defense has come along this season in a way that, I mean, look, I still don't know if it means anything or not, but their defensive rating is way better with Zion on the floor now, in a pretty decent sample size of the amount of games that he's played so far this season, right? Like they're I believe 3-2. No, I'm sorry, 3-3 without him, right? And then they're about 10-5 with him. The defensive rating being 7 points better with him on the floor, still, or excuse me, well, it's not 6 points better, but it's still like that. That's a little surprising because they were worse without him last season, or they were better without him last season when he was on defense. They were better when he was not on the floor. This season, it's the opposite case. So everything that they're doing on offense as well, it doesn't need as much publicity in terms of the offense because it's what we expect from them. 5th in points in the paint, 4th in points per game so far. Their assists actually have the 3rd most assists per game in the league, or at least assist percentage as well. So they're sharing the ball, they're getting points in the paint, and their 3-point percentage is at least good. And on the road, it's actually a bunch better. 4th in 3-point percentage. They do score 4 more on the road than they do at home as well. Actually, Zion's played in a few more away games than he has home games as well. So there's some direct correlation right there. And I mean, the free throw attempts are huge, like 5 more when Zion's in there, 4 more on the road. And that's huge against a team like the Spurs, who, like you said, even when Pirtle is in there, they're a turnstile. I thought they would start getting better around the rim with him, being in there and maybe progressing back to his mean in terms of being able to keep people. Like right now, teams are shooting 66% in the paint on Jakob Pirtle when he's in there. That's good for the worst of all centers in the league right now, right? 66% in the paint. When you're going up against Pirtle, he's not even in there now. So like I would probably feel just as good. It's not like they're going to be better without him in there now that he's off the floor down low. At this point, Josh Richardson's also out. Jeremy Sohan's out. So I'm not really sure who's going to guard down low. I believe Romeo Langford is also questionable. Like, they're tanking beautifully. They're doing a wonderful job. They're actually still not really interrupting Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell's growth. It seems like they're still getting theirs and know that they're going to have some pretty solid NBA careers. In the meantime, they're just looking for that Victor Wembanyama pick. I finally got it right, so I'll continue to fade them 7 points on the road or at home against one of the let's say top 6 teams in the NBA right now in the Pellies. Yeah, it's too easy right now.
Yeah, at least top 6, like night to night effort. We don't know about the Pelicans in the playoffs necessarily yet, but they're a team to back in the regular season because their defense is fierce right now. I mean, and their depth is really impressive. They have a lot of like discarded guys like Garrett Temple, Willie Hernan Gomez that could really help other teams, and they're barely cracking the rotation for the Pels. But when they have Ingram or Herb Jones out, those guys can step in, and that second unit can pull away against the Spurs second unit that is just G League players. And Keldon Johnson, I mean, he might do a little bit better here tonight. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up after getting 5 points on 2 for 9 shooting in 16 minutes the last time these teams met. And in his last 6, he's shooting 27% from the floor and 82 offensive rating. So, I mean, maybe his development is getting ruined by being the number 1 option to a degree. I don't know if he's going to lose confidence at some point. But in any case, this is a tough matchup for him. Devin Vassell has played well against the Pelicans. So maybe you want to look at his props, and we're going to look at fading Johnson again, even without Herb Jones, because Trey Murphy, just playing really well alongside Zion on both ends of the floor. Larry Nance off the bench. Like I love the Pels. Willie Green, early coach of the year candidate, and I don't think they're going to take nights off here. I think they're going to pounce on the Spurs and get another easy win, just like they did a couple weeks ago.
Love Willie Green. The staff underneath Steve Kerr and company continues to flourish. Shout out Mike Brown as well, like the beam. This is an easy one right now, man. For us, as we said, I would expect this line to be closer to 10. I'm not really sure why it's not. There's so many guys out for the Spurs tonight. Like I said, Josh Richardson, also Dougie McDermott not out. I'm not really sure where they're going to score at all. I'm not sure who's going to stop. Like Zion and Joe Val are about to eat tonight. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be basically like they just are playing against a team that's just going to allow them to just pounce down the lane. I'm pretty much looking forward to all the Zion dunks tonight. Pelly's tonight, maybe some points, Pelly's points, but definitely Pelly's to pull this out by at least 7. So.
All right, Lakers Bucks, and Chris Middleton might be back tonight for the first time this season. So maybe that gives the Bucks some extra juice on the line, but I don't think that that's necessarily a positive in terms of continuity. I mean, he hasn't played since the first round of the playoffs last year. It might take a little bit of time to reintegrate him into the offense, which hasn't been great in general this season. Much better at home, though. And Middleton has actually kind of sucked against the Lakers his last 6 in the regular season, shooting 39% from the floor, getting 17 points per game. So, I mean, I'm already, regardless of that news, I'm on the Lakers to cover here. And maybe if you're plus 300 or better, to take a small wager out on them winning this game. I'm not sold on the Bucks being the powerhouse that their numbers indicate at this point. Their defense has been incredible. I don't know how much of that is the level of competition. But more, to me, it's about the Lakers getting off the schneid, getting both their superstars back and relatively healthy, and figuring out some lineup combinations that actually work, which right now is LeBron, AD, and your boy Austin Reeves, the lady killer, who's now in the starting lineup. And those guys combined for plus 26 in a bounce back win after they blew the big lead. The last time Reeves started against the Spurs, he was excellent, 21 points in 27 minutes. He had a 166 offensive rating last game. He's shooting like 60% from 3 in his last 6 here. And since getting LeBron back, the Lakers go from 33% from deep to 41% as a team. Obviously, the shot quality going way up there. AD continuing to do what he does when he's at his full powers here, which is score down low. And his prop only 23.5 points because I guess we're giving, Brook Lopez, Giannis lots of credit in their terms to be able to limit AD. Well, how about his ability to limit them? Because he has the number 1 defensive rating in the NBA now. In his last 8, it's a 97 defensive rating. Like I said in our awards video yesterday, plus 2,200 for the man to win Defensive Player of the Year. If he can stay healthy, that's a big if. But that's why you're getting plus 2,200. Not a bad bet. So, I just think with both those guys, you look at the last time they were both active to face the Bucks. Giannis went absolutely nuclear, and the Lakers lost in February. That was when they were in the throes of their can't get anything right, hate each other, whatever. Giannis posted a 181 offensive rating, 17 for 20 from the floor, which by himself basically broke a streak of 6 straight unders when these teams meet. Because these teams are both so interior oriented and so good at defending the interior, I kind of lean under here at 230. Even though the Bucks score 10 more points per game at home, their defense also a little better. But I just think the Lakers can hang. I think that this game will mean a lot to them, as it has, for both teams every time they met, because it's really the alpha matchup, right? Whenever Giannis and LeBron are both playing, it's both those guys are geared up and their teammates are as well. And AD is playing like an alpha as well right now. So I just think the Lakers can hang within 9 points. You look at prior to that February meeting, they actually beat Milwaukee both times. They had both LeBron and AD active. That was January 21 and March 2020 when they were like the best team in the league. Obviously went on to win the championship, but look, they won 6 of 8. They're looking pretty good. I think they can at least be competitive in this one after the Bucks, scraped by against the Knicks. I just don't think that they're the powerhouse that you can expect to cover by 9. Look, they didn't really do that last year. Anytime you saw a big spread of the Bucks, it was going the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. They didn't cover quite the same last year. I don't know how much you buy into the Lakers road stats this year, though, because they're pretty bad away from Staples, Crypto, FT, whatever the hell arena it is these days. I don't know if crypto's still working, but 1-6 against the spread at home, -11 margin of victory, failing to cover by about 5 points on that spread at home this season. It continues into the idea of them not playing offense at all this season in general, but on the road, 110 points a game versus 115 at home, giving up the 118 points a game versus 112 at home. So it's obviously not very good. 2-6 straight up on the road this season. I think there's a little bit to be concerned about with the way that they're unable to just really score the ball on the road. They're not even getting as many shots up despite playing at a pretty fast pace. They have been a little bit slower over these last 3 games where they've won 2 of 3, but I'm also a little bit hesitant to ride any of the wave of winning 6 out of 8 when those wins come against the Spurs thrice. 3 wins against the Spurs, a win against the Pistons, win against the Nets, who were playing on a back-to-back on the road, losing to the Pacers by 1 after being up by 11. But, even in that Pacers game, that was an indication of a team that sort of turned things around a bit, right? Like they were leading that game by double digits in the third quarter at one point, and gave that whole thing up.
They're up 17
it's there for
fourth,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the fourth. Yeah, and it's there for them. And the Bucks haven't been great in the fourth quarter either. The Bucks have just been sort of rolling along as a blue collar team, more so than they've ever been, right? And we've talked already, a lot of us, including this podcast, about Brolo being the defensive player of the year, and maybe Giannis should hopefully Giannis bought him a few nice presents when he won his Defensive Players of the Year awards, since that was clearly the result, as he's admitted this season, of Brolo being back in the lineup and that defensive rating plummeting as a result, and all of the interior stats plummeting as a result. Their ability to get a few more second chance points and limit opponents' second chance points, which was also a problem last season when Giannis wasn't gobbling up 15 rebounds a game. If he didn't get 15 boards, they were going to have trouble rebounding in a lot of those games. So, for this one, like I'm a little bit hesitant to feel confident in the Lakers just yet, mostly just because of those road woes and the differences that we're seeing in those splits that are pretty stark. I believe in the Bucks, and I believe in them sort of playing, staving off the competition while they wait for Chris Middleton to get back. They've done better than just stay alive and afloat, obviously, being a top 3 team in the East right now. So I think that if Middleton is back tonight, that would be the reason for what you're saying here, and why you believe in the Bucks' ability, the Lakers' ability to sort of take advantage of the fact that we don't know what that offense is going to look like when Chris Middleton comes back into it. If he does come back, I can't imagine him playing more than like 20 to 25 minutes, if not simply for the sake of conditioning. But when it's not worth it to me to bring up these stats of with Chris Middleton, without Chris Middleton just yet. I think we need to, it's similar to how Clay came back last season. We need to see what that looks like first, give him at least like a month to get back into the groove before we start saying that this team is going to start clicking a bit more on offense and increase, not necessarily increase their 3-point attempts, but maybe some of the percentages and efficiencies that they've been lacking this season because they don't have one of their key, playmakers, as well as a guy who puts up shots at the end of the shot clock and in clutch time, which is where they've been struggling a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear you about the road woes. I'm really trying to look at this as a snapshot, though, not as the Lakers over the course of the entire season, because obviously you wouldn't trust them, as you would like to say, you wouldn't bet on them with my money for over that entire sample size. But you look, I mean, they were 30th in offensive efficiency on the road until recently, right? When they get these lineup combinations and they get LeBron James back, they're 5th overall, with 2 of those games coming, yes, at San Antonio, but on the road. So, I mean, they're hitting from outside because they have Austin Reeves out there. Dennis Schroeder's been a better fit. He's questionable tonight with some personal issues. Lonnie Walker, also questionable. Troy Brown, also questionable. But look, I want more Austin Reeves on the floor. I need more cowbell. I want more Thomas Bryant off the bench, playing center, shifting AD down to that 4 role where he doesn't have to deal with Brook Lopez as much. Yeah. And in these last 3, look, the Lakers offense, take what you will, grain of salt with the competition, but 129 points per game with a 125 rating. You look at Milwaukee, faster at home, more paint points. Again, 10 more points per game. They were 24-13 to the over since the start of last season and against Western Conference teams. So there's a lot of conflicting stats. I mean, they also went over in 5 straight before that under at the Knicks. Mm-hmm. But the history of games when these teams play each other is kind of strength meets strength down low. Both are top 3 in limiting free throws. I do think it's kind of a vulnerable total to go under because of that. And so if you're looking at Lakers +9, what about Lakers +13 under 234? Sure. I mean, those are some big numbers for you to try to squeeze under there. But in any case, yeah, I mean, maybe you think there's some game theory here to take an over with the parlay with the Lakers or take the under with the Bucks to just get the money line here. What's the path to victory for each team?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the game theory is if the Lakers win, it's actually got to be a little bit. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. The pace to me for these teams is so similar. They play similarly in that sense. The Lakers play a little bit faster, but over these last 3 where the Bucks have won all 3 and the Lakers are playing a little bit better, getting their players back in rotation finally, they're both playing a little bit slower than they have as well. I think you see with AD as a little bit more of a focal point and LeBron back in, and actually Westbrook missing a game or 2, that's actually slowed down their pace, which has allowed them to be a bit more efficient on offense as well, and then also much better not much better, but better on defense where they were already pretty good as well. Again, competition notwithstanding. So all that's to say, like tonight, I actually see an under as well. I think it is a little bit inflated because of the fact that the Lakers have been playing so fast this season, but I think the Bucks are super fine playing slower. You look at the Bucks on the road, and the Lakers on the road are going under a bit more because that offense is so anemic. And the Bucks, as you said, they play a little faster at home though, so like there is the opportunity for them. They've gone over a bit more at home so far this season. So it is conflicting, but I think the game theory, to your point, is a little bit more down low. Like the Lakers don't have the 3-point shooting to hang with the Bucks. I think they need to keep this game inside the arc a little bit more as best they can. And maybe, obviously Brolo is a problem down there, but I think they've got the bodies to hang, and we'll see this be a little bit more of a banger than a run and gun style affair. So Nate, let's go ahead and jump into your first NBA play prop for tonight.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn here I want to take a Wizard against the Hornets, who might be fully embracing the tank here with LaMelo sitting. They gave up 140 to the Celtics, who were missing Jaylen Brown in that game. I mean, the Celtics put 140 on everybody, but they're 25th in paint points allowed. They're offensively 30th in shooting efficiency, so they're giving up the 3rd most defensive rebounds. So wanted to take Bazinga, who's been real hot in his last 3, but for whatever reason, Mason Plumlee, I guess, and company did a pretty good job on him in their last meeting. And Kuz picked up the slack with 28, 10, and 5. Kyle Kuzma, in his last 5, he's been dealing with a back injury and has been kind of questionable to play, but that back never hurts when you're on offense, right? 27.5 points, 7 rebounds, 4.5 assists as well, causing some people to, say that the Wizards have a budding big 3 here in Kuz, KP, and Brad Beal. I mean, what do you call it? A medium-sized 3, Vente-sized. So in any case, they can put some numbers up on this Hornets team that I don't think is as good as even some of the defensive rating metrics would indicate. That they're and Kuzma's his points is 21.5. I have no problem with that. I think you can combine the rebounds for 30.5. Odds stay the same here because I think the Hornets offense is going to be so bad without LaMelo, Gordon Hayward, or Dennis Smith Jr. as well. And Kuzma has been doing such a good job rebounding since he joined this team. He has a 23% defensive rebounding rate, which is way up from where he was at with the Lakers in the early part of his career. He's really become more of a well-rounded player. So if you want the whole PRA, I like that as well because, like I said, he's been diming up, and the Hornets are just kind of a sieve everywhere.
Yeah, sieve is the right word. And anywhere you want, they're just leaking defense, leaking confidence, leaking paint points to their opponent and rebounds. So yeah, Kuz, Kyle, Shaquille O'Neal, Kuzma, best rebounding forward in the league right now. I don't know how you argue that. And I mean, true small forward, if you will. He's playing a lot of power forward as well. I mean, every time we talk about Kuzma, I'm just going to bring up how much he would be helping the Lakers right now. But let's move on to the Lakers and a guy I'm going to take again, Anthony Davis. This worked out last time. It was a point higher, 24.5 when we took him against the Blazers. Obviously, the Blazers are not the Milwaukee Bucks on defense, especially down low. But the Portland Trailblazers are also pretty good at defense this season, by the way. Pretty much a top 12-ish defense in the league after being pretty much the worst or bottom 3 last season. So that was also pretty impressive, and it actually took a lot of effort for him. The thing I like about him is he's shooting down low right now. He's not pulling those threes anymore. He kind of realizes that like this is where he's going to be able to score from is barreling into the lane and being, using some finesse, but it seems like this is too low, right? Like it's 23.5 points for a guy that's been putting up 30 points a game in his last 8, right? And he's put up 30 at least in like 7 of those 8 games, 35 in like 3 or 4 of those 8 games as well. So 16 boards a game in those last 8 as well. 3 blocks for the man who's definitely making his case for Defensive Player of the Year if he can stay on the floor this whole season with that 97.1 individual defensive rating. So he's going to be on the floor for the 32 minutes that he's been playing, 35 while LeBron was out as well, by the way. So like good on AD for like getting those minutes and sort of putting the people to sleep, or at least making some people shut up online who call him soft all the time. And like I said, shooting 60% from the field during those last 8, all of those points in the paint. I believe he has like 0.8 3-point attempts over those 8 games, meaning he's probably shot like 2 threes over the course of those last 8, which makes you feel really, really good about the fact that he's getting all those points in the paint, because his field goal percentage in the paint as well is about 72% right now on cleaning the glass. Last 5 versus the Bucks as well, and I know we talk about the Bucks being as good as they are on defense and Brolo being back, but his last 5 against them, 25 a game and 9 boards, 109 defensive ratings, just indicating how much they're going to need him on the floor for the majority of this game while Giannis and Brolo are playing together. There's really Thomas Bryant and AD might even see some time together tonight, which is still fine, as Thomas, AD is going to be scoring hopefully a little bit more, from the foul line and in, as opposed to like having his back to the basket, because it's not really a great matchup with Brolo forcing him out of the paint. So I think he's going to be doing a little bit more facing the basket, leaving an opportunity for Thomas Bryant to actually be in there and help take Brolo, the pressure off of AD by having Brolo guard him and vice versa.
Yeah, I think the numbers are pretty clear that AD is much more efficient and productive when he has a true center playing alongside him and he doesn't have to take on that role. But a couple things you said make my ears perk up as like, yeah, this is going to be a good effort from AD. Normally 30 to 32 minutes. I think, yeah, he will be above 35 in this matchup. I think the Lakers are going to take it very seriously, and the calls, that he's soft, he's really disproved that in his last 8, playing extremely well on both ends. He's minus 130 to get at least 2 blocks in this game. His projection is 11.5 rebounds. He's going to be out there, in a really physical game that we talk about in the game video, is like strength meets strength down low. I don't see him backing down. I see him getting to the line pretty consistently as well if he's not scoring down low, because I just think this is going to be like a really kind of black and blue game where both teams are trying to assert themselves down low. Yeah. The Nets are hosting the Raptors here, and the last time Pascal Siakam faced the Nets, 37, 12, and 11. Just a monster game. He was on just an absolute tear, pretty much a lock for all NBA before he had to sit 2 weeks. Yeah. And so I think we can get ahead of it here in terms of him getting his groove back. He started to play well against the Pelicans, 23, 6, and 4 in 34 minutes, but it was a blowout loss, so he did not finish that one. This one's a 1-point spread. Pascal at 22.5 points. I think he gets over that for sure. I like combining with the assists because he is posting a career-high 35% assist rate. They're running him as like a point power forward. Also career high usage, 29%, career high defensive rebounding rate. So he's just filling it up. 36.5 would be the PRA. Durant, there's an exhaustion factor here from everything he's doing on offense. The Nets, mediocre 112 defensive rating in their last 7. Much different pace for Toronto when they're on the road, 99 possessions versus 94 at home. And Siakam's getting more numbers on the road because of that. 24 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, despite lower overall efficiency on the road. So I think you like him to fill up those peripheral stats. Maybe you even want to go rebounds, assists. I mean, take whatever you want. I think he's going to flirt with a triple-double here again and get you about 25 points.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm going to take the peripherals with him too. I had no idea he was averaging 8 assists a game on the road this season. I already was like so impressed with Pascal. I was like, can you already be an all-star and remain an all-star, but like still win most improved player? Like I hate that award anyway. So like, fuck it, just give it to Pascal. Like he's gone from like clearly like at least a tier below guys like, the top tier guys in the league, right? The Giannis's and the Jokic's, etc. He's been probably 2 tiers below those guys. I would say he's moved up a tier into like right below them this season, especially because of that playmaking ability. Those assists are wildly impressive. I would take the PRA with him as well. I feel like you and I last season got scarred by Pascal like 3 different times, taking his PRA right around 35, and he would get like 35 and a half, and he would get 35 each time. So let's just let that fade from our memory and take some of the peripherals in this one as well, as I think there's gonna be a lot of opportunity for that against a Nets team that will probably have like Royce O'Neal guarding him for a lot of this time, and he's just not big enough to handle Pascal in that situation. So let's finish things off here with Keldon Johnson under. We brought him up in the game video there against the Pellies. 28 and a half boards and rebounds. Take that under at minus 118 there on FanDuel. Keldon, I said I don't think that their lack of success, the Spurs, and the way that they're clearly tanking this season has affected him too much. But that's because I didn't look as closely as you did over the course of the last 5 or 6 games that he's been playing, where his numbers have dipped a bunch, especially his efficiencies. Over his last 6, he's down to about 14.7 points a game on 27.5% from the field with an 82.4 individual offensive rating. Very, 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 very bad. This includes a 5.1 rebound affair in just 16 minutes against the Pellies last time that they played in November. Since that time, he has had 20 points a game and 9 boards or so, but 2 of those were versus the really, really fast Lakers, who also were just not able to guard that position at the time with all the wing players that they have out. He had 19 points, 7 boards, 6 assists, but shoot 5 of 22 from the field when they were in KC since that time as well. So KC and the Lakers, 2 teams that, not quite NOLA, who we've talked about in the video, they're a juggernaut right now on defense and around the boards, especially when Zion's in there. 4th fewest rebounds allowed to their opponent, 3rd best 3-point percentage that they're limiting opponents to, and they're limiting opponents to the 7th fewest free throw attempts as well. All the ways that Keldon Johnson would like to score in terms of his versatility from outside and then getting to the line, driving to the hoop. They allow the 3rd fewest points per game to power forwards. And Zion is basically in there assuming that if you're guarding him, you're going to get in foul trouble. Like there's no way to guard him without fouling. If they make the mistake of leaving Keldon Johnson on Zion for too long, he won't be able to make it past the 16, 17 minutes he played last game as well. So yeah, it's just an awful matchup for him as well. He needs a much smaller front court than what he's going to be facing tonight to be able to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, OKC, you said there is no NBA team in Kansas City, but that's...
What I say, KC?
Yeah, you said KC twice, but that's cool. The 28 and a half points and rebounds, I feel pretty good about him going under because he's just not boarding very consistently. He had 19 and 7 against at Oklahoma City, and New Orleans is such a good rebounding team, and they're giving up such few rebounds because usually you're just taking the ball out of the basket after Zion puts you in the basket. And I mean, they're playing so well on both ends of the floor that he couldn't stay on the floor in this last matchup. There could be some bounce back from him, but I don't think that the Spurs have enough fight in them to really, to expect that. I think a moderate bounce back is fine, but they could get blown off the floor once again.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more this just spells like if our game theory is Keldon's going under, then I think part of that is because they're just going to get blown out and dude's not even going to play much, from the halfway through the 3rd quarter on, right? And I think that's also leading me to go, well, then why don't I just take like a really sick player performance double for the Pellies, or take like an alternate over or alternate spread there at like 9.5 or 10 for the Pellies if you think they're going to win by double digits, because the game theory spells that for this one. And if you're the Pellies and you got CJ McCollum coming back trying to work him in, I think this is a good opportunity to blow this team out and get in your groove, continue on your groove as they've won a bunch of games over their last 5. So that is all the time we have for you in player props today. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We're coming back to you guys next week, each and every weekday this regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.